Hey now, welcome everybody, welcome one, welcome all to another episode 105 of the You Need It, You Want It, You Got It, the Uneeda Horror Podcast. We got a fun show tonight. It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. Fantastic. Christian, I have to say, you were right. I put it to the test, and everything does taste better out of the Halloween Resurrection tumbler. You know, I loved, this is how they had it displayed. So I saw it, and I was like, Halloween Resurrection, fuck yeah. And then I turned it over, and I was like, okay, this is kind of corny. When it's Michael, and it says, I'm a stalker, not a talker. And I'm like, kind of lame, but Halloween Resurrection. So yeah. Everything does taste better out of it. I highly recommend it, guys. My spirit only had one left, so I'm very glad.
They're hot sellers for sure.
The Glendals were gone. They opened today. My local one did. They had 4 Glendals, and I asked one of the workers. He was like, one person came in and bought all 4.
That's insane. That's fucked up. Whoever you are, you're an asshole.
Yep.
Scalpers. They're gonna double the price on the eBay for them. No, they had the Resurrection cup like that, but they didn't have it with that kind of lid and the straw. It was like for coffee, like the one with like a little. That's the kind I got.
Yeah, yeah. This is the tumbler with like the, the straw that doesn't come out and the twist top. I also got. I actually made sure to point this out in my video too. The love it, by the way, the Curse of Michael Myers lanyard. Absolutely love it. But on the tag,
it's nice.
Yeah, well, it's reversible. You got that, and then on the other side, you got Kara and the knife from the poster. Nice. Not just that. I already put my car keys on it, but it's got the little poster, and the coolest thing on it actually was this bad boy. If I can find, oh yeah, little knife.
Yeah, very cool.
But on the tag, it said Halloween H2O. And I picked it up, and in my video, I showed the tag and then showed the lanyard. I was like, really now? Yeah, I only got a couple little things. I got this sweatshirt, and then I got this Poltergeist cup, which looked awesome, and this Jeepers Creepers cup.
Yeah, they didn't have that when I wanted to get that. I got a Scream cup. It had Ghostface. It's kind of purpley. It's got like a purple hue on it.
Yep, I saw that one. They're only, I mean, these are $3, man. And if you remember back in the day, when they would do these cups, it would be like printed on labels almost. So if you washed it a couple times, it would start to peel.
They peel off.
I've noticed now it's not like that. This shit is on there. So for $3, you really can't go wrong.
No, I like those. But what I was going to say, what's interesting to me is you could go, like if you find like Halloween merchandise around, sometimes at Spirit and sometimes like t-shirts at Walmart, they'll have images of like a Michael from a certain movie, but it'll be marketed or licensed from Curse. It's really weird. And I always wonder why that is.
Our Curse's licensing the cheapest. You know what I mean? Like,
you know, that pumpkin that Michael holds with the knife that was really popular. That was a Curse of Michael Myers product.
Yes, but it was definitely H2O, right?
I mean, that or even the first one, but the pumpkin is from Curse. So I guess that's, yeah. But there's a Ghostface one that I really want where he's holding, it's Ghostface holding a little pumpkin that light, and the pumpkin lights up. I doubt you saw that in stores.
I didn't see it, no.
Yeah, and then of course the Chucky Jack in the Box. No, I definitely want that. So,
well, the Jack in the Box. I told you guys I did reach out to Steve, and he said they're not in stores yet. So it's one of those things when they have these licensed hot ticket items. Sometimes they take a little longer to roll out. It just is what it is.
Yeah. Very well. And tomorrow Texas Chainsaw comes out, so I'm super pumped about that. The game. But I don't think me and you could play. Because you have Xbox and I have PlayStation.
You can cross play now.
Did they change it? Because I thought it was that way, and then yesterday people were telling me, "No, dude, they put out like a brochure thing online that showed who can play with who, and it didn't look like Xbox could. It looks like Next Gen can play with Next Gen on cross, but I don't think I can play. With
I have the most recent Xbox that came out, the Series S or Series X or whatever it is. So.
Fingers crossed, Fingers crossed if it'll pull up. Hold on. There it is. When you're a trash human being, fuck boy, but she keeps coming back to you because you're a dick warlock. That shit kills me.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh man. So we are doing the horror icons tier. Do we want to talk about where we got the idea for this, or?
Yeah, I'll just give a shout out really quick. I got this idea from Cody Leach. I know he's not the first person to do it, but you know, Cody, friend of the show, we like Cody. I saw his list. It pissed me off. It pissed me off. So I reached out to Christian about his list. I was like, man, some of these, I was just like, damn you. And he was like, dude, we should do it. And I was like, let's do it. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it. But shout out to Cody because, there'd be one person that'd go in the comments like, didn't Cody Leach just do this? Yes. We're giving him credit. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to have a fun time like everybody else. So if I see an idea that people are doing and I like it, you damn right. I want to do it too. So, I also want to say, like, if I forgot somebody after the fact, or if you think of something that I didn't put on the list, let me know. And of course we could just talk about it right here and then, but for the people in the comments that might have say you forgot this or that, I'm sorry. Like I seriously was sitting here thinking of what to put on here. And it
gets to a point, man, though. There's so many. Do you really want to be here all night? You want to do this for 4 hours? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. But I'm excited about this. This is going to be fun. So let me pull it up. I've got our tier list right here. And don't look at the people too much because I don't want you to think about it. But I've got 5 tiers. I've got the first one being Icon because that's what the name of the show is, Horror Icons. Then you've got the second column, which is Semi-Icon, which means obviously they're like a B tier. You got your A tier, which is the greats and the B tiers. Then I had the third one. I called it Cult, meaning like they certainly have a fan base, but it may not be something you consider to be A or B. Consider it possibly C. Then I had one called Subculture, which means there are diehards for it, but they're 1 to 10 of like the big ones, whatever you want to put it as. And then I have the last one called Back of the Line. So.
Hell yeah. Well, I mean, how you want to kick this off? You want to just grab one and start the conversation?
Yeah. I mean, we can start it right here from left to right. And the first one on here is Predator, which is an interesting one to start with.
I know my answer.
Oh, we have to figure this out, by the way.
What
happens if we disagree? There's no third well, it's not like I didn't put 2 of them on here for both me and you to have because I was like, do we split the difference? Do we both get a trump card, so to speak, to where?
How about this? If we don't agree, we don't rank it until we get through all of them. We leave them down there and then we come back to it and we have to decide on one. We stew on it for a little bit. Okay. So
if you know what Predator is, don't say it yet. Then let me say it, and we can see if you agree. Okay. Because I don't want you to sway me.
You go.
I think.
Be honest with yourself.
Yeah, I'm being honest with myself. I think Predator is a semi-icon.
Same here. So no disagreement. Great first movie. There's people that have a lot of fun with the second one, but nobody would say it's a great movie. Predators is pretty good. The AVP movies, the first one's all right. The second one kind of blows. And the Predator was ass, just asshole. So bad. And Prey was really good. But I mean, when like half of your movies, I don't even know if I'd say that because we're going to get into a franchise later that I would make the different argument for. Yeah, a semi-icon. You got anything to add there?
No, I just wanted to say this though. Prey just got announced on 4K finally, so that's coming out in early October, Blu-ray and 4K. So if you're a fan of that, you can be able to
October 3rd, brother.
All right, semi-icon. I agree, of course. I don't know. I think it's a personal. I think could be a personal take on do bad movies take it out of an icon status, even if it is something that everybody knows? That's something I think a personal take is something that you can have. But for me, even though there's more bad than good, I think Predator is in the mainstream and pretty much has been. I think everybody knows what it is, or at least has heard of it. And you got to remember, it's an Arnold Schwarzenegger film above anything else that the first one is. So
yeah, and I would almost argue though that first one is remembered more for Arnold than the Predator. So
of course,
yeah,
of course. And I tell people that I was like, you cannot forget it's not a Predator movie. That's an Arnold Schwarzenegger film. You know, so that's definitely something to take into consideration. So next up, we have Alien. And for some reason, I used a picture of an alien from Covenant, which I hate that movie.
That movie's not that bad. I thought it was all right. Oh, this one's hard. This one's hard because you could say semi-icon and like you could make that argument just like Predator. But honestly, is it wrong of me to say that I think that Alien is more popular?
I don't think so. I think Alien did more for Predator with the Alien versus Predator movies than Predator did anything for Alien. I think Alien is way more distinguished.
And we're talking about, you know, Jim Cameron, Ridley Scott, Sigourney Weaver, like
O'Bannon. Yeah, I mean, legend.
Yeah. I'm gonna say icon. I'm gonna say it.
Yeah. Oh, I without a doubt, I would agree that Alien is
yeah, but I just knew I was trying to parse it out in my head because I know there's going to be somebody like, oh, you put him in icon, but not Predator. It's like,
oh, come on, man! Like Alien became, you know, it's like Alien. It's not the same if you really think about it. Alien became a great movie, became a classic because it was well written and it was scary as fuck. Predator became a classic because it was an Arnold Schwarzenegger film. It had a giant movie star attached to it. Alien did not. You know, at the time, none of those people were megastars yet.
No,
they would become. Sigourney would. You know, Lance Henriksen would become definitely a cult actor that had a lot of fans, but they weren't stars back then.
No.
Alien became successful on its own merit. Not taking anything away from Predator. It's a classic as well.
But it wouldn't have the cultural impact if Arnold wasn't in that first movie. So.
I would agree. Yeah, it could be a totally different ball game.
Yep. Well, we agree so far.
Yeah. Next up, we have Blade representing the Puppet Master series.
Okay, so I'm stuck right now between cult and what's the one below it?
Subculture.
Cult and subculture, but I'm going to say subculture. Personally, I could make an argument for cult. By the way, guys, funny story. Christian is surprised that I've seen these movies. He didn't know because I never really talked about it.
I'm not surprised you've seen all of them too. Like, dude, literally
except the newest one. That's the only one I haven't seen yet.
Blade is terrible. If that's what you're referring to.
And whatever's the most recent one that came out, that's the one I haven't seen. I can make an argument for cult based off of my enjoyment of it, but if I'm being honest, you know, Full Moon, Puppet Master, they're the types of movies that I've literally seen at Walmart in the $5 bin like so many times. I'm going to say subculture. I'm going to say that's what I would say.
I was going to go cult because unlike some of the things that might be on this list, to me, Puppet Master, especially for millennials and older, they all know what it is. I mean, because they all saw the VHS at Blockbuster. They all are aware of it. And not only that, like NECA saw fit that, hey, this has enough of a popularity to make figures for.
Put so it in cult. You won't. Like I said, you won't get argument from me there. I was debating between the two. Personally, I'd put it in cult. I was objectively, put it in cult. Fuck it.
You thought I was going to say icon?
No. I was pretty sure you were going to say cult. But
well, there's that. Next up, this is where I think we really need to try to be as objective as possible. I put Dr. Loomis on the horror icons bracket because most of these are villains, if not all. But I thought, you know what, that's something I thought would be interesting. So I have Dr. Loomis next for the horror icons list.
You want to ask the Halloween guy? I'll be objective here.
Who's on all the T-shirts? Who's on the cover of the movies?
Semi-icon. He is not an icon because they're not his movies. Having said that, everybody knows who Dr. Loomis is. Halloween doesn't work without Dr. Loomis. And the series has not been the same since he died. It's just a fact. These are facts. He's such a popular character that even Rob Zombie felt he needed to get an A-list actor to portray him in his reboot. And Malcolm McDowell does a great job, by the way. But he's not an icon. As much as the fanboy in me in Halloween, would say, "Oh, he's an icon. He's iconic." It's Donald Pleasance. Donald Pleasance as an actor is a borderline icon. Yeah, sure, especially over in England. But I think Dr. Loomis is just a semi-icon because he plays second fiddle to the real icon. So that's my opinion.
If Dr. Loomis was in Halloween Ends, what do you think his main objective would have been? Who would he have been going after?
Corey. I think he would have taken more of some of Laurie's role. I think he would have known what Corey was, or would have seen. Was Laurie
Strode Dr. Loomis in the movie?
At times, yes. When she's trying to warn Allison, when she's almost kind of like keeping a close eye on Corey because she recognizes. I mean, she even has the line of like, I saw his eyes. Like that's a Loomis line. Like, yeah, I think Laurie would have just been more of like this happy-go-lucky, doddering old woman in that movie had Loomis still been around. Loomis would have been the one that was like, "Nah, this guy's evil." Like, so yeah.
I was looking at the comments on my review I did, and it's so, dude, people either love it or when I say they hate it.
Hate it.
I got a few comments. Some people were like, I really don't understand how anybody could like a movie that disrespects Michael so much. It's like, this truly is an abomination. Like, I really can't understand how you could even like it. And it's just, dude, it's interesting. These movies must really be, like, they must really mean a lot to people. I try to look at it in a positive light. Like, when, like, they get mad. Like, this is not a Halloween film. Like, stop. I'm just like, wow, man. It's crazy.
Look, I understand, and we've talked about it a lot, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. I respect how anybody feels about the movie, and I know that we're not going to change each other's minds. But at the end of the day, it's fiction. And Michael Myers is a fictional character. And if they want to change it up, if you're going to change it up, it better be interesting. And I felt like it was interesting. So I accepted it. But a lot of people didn't think it was interesting, so they didn't accept it. I respect it. But Loomis, I think he's a semi-icon.
Semi-icon. Last question is, every time I pulled up Twitter, I kept saying it. I think Lee knows exactly what he's doing. I think he knows he's trying to stir up attention. Mm-hmm. God bless him, but he knew what he was doing. Do you agree that Halloween Ends is better than Scream 6? They're not even remotely the same film. Like,
they're not.
What does that mean?
Well,
is he trying to say he likes it more than Scream 6?
Yes, clearly. Because I don't think you can make an objective argument in that case. They're very different films. Having said that, though, I do agree. Because a lot of the reason why so many people like Scream 6 is because it was Scream on steroids, but it was a lot of what we had seen before. It definitely was, but that formula works, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Halloween Ends was a complete subversion of expectations, for good or bad, and it was something very different for that series. So, which again, understand why people hate it. So like, I agree. I think it's a better movie. I think it took more risks, and I think it's going to have I do agree with the take, and I think most people would agree with this, even if they hate Halloween Ends. You will remember Halloween Ends far longer than you'll remember Scream 6. That movie will be talked about for a long time. A long time. So, agree. Yeah, I would take Ends over Scream 6. I really would.
With all that being said, I would put Dr. Loomis in semi-icon as well. So far, we're in agreement. Oh, so next up, we have Harry Warden from My Bloody Valentine.
Cold. I would teeter on below Cult, Christian. I'll put it in Cult because I feel like you're going to go there too. But I would make the argument, and I think I'd be right in saying more people know Blade than Harry Warden. And we put Blade in cult.
God's honest truth, right hand to God. To me, I'd put. I'm trying to be objective, but I would put Harry Warden, and we can pass on it for now. But I would put Harry Warden in subculture.
Let's do it. I just said I was teetering on both. You know, I'm willing to have discussion about it. If you think it's subculture, let's do it, because I think Blade's more popular. Oh,
without question. I mean,
yeah.
To me, it's not. There's no question. And the people, if you're listening to this yelling at your car, hold on, think about this for a second. This is for the general public. This is how they rank in the world based off of, what do they do when they say, you know, the recent poll shows X has 30% of the vote right now. They don't ask the whole population. They ask 100 people. And if you asked 100 people and you showed them a picture of Harry Warden, or you showed them a picture of the puppet, I guarantee you 2 out of 3 would probably say, oh, I remember though. That was, we didn't, I guarantee they even say that all the stuff that you would expect. We rented it. We didn't see that in theaters, that puppet movie. I remember that. I guarantee you, as opposed to Harry Warden.
Yep.
You have to be a slasher fan to know what that movie is. That's subculture.
Yep. No argument for me there. I was trying to be a little forgiving, but yeah, no, you're right.
Next up, we have the 2000s horror maestro, Billy the Puppet, a.k.a. Jigsaw.
This is where I wanted to set the record straight. Cody Leach and anybody that disagrees. Jigsaw's an icon. It is a franchise that's grossed over $1 billion. You see that spiral, you know what it is. You see that puppet, you know what it is. You hear that voice, you know who it is. It's an icon. It ruled Halloween for damn near a decade. And 20 years after the first movie came out, there's another one coming out, bringing all these characters back, and it's got the internet abuzz. Icon. Without question, icon.
Mm-hmm. I think when the movies, this is my biggest argument for icon as well. When the movies stop, but the masks are still showing up at Walgreens every year, you've penetrated. You've broken a glass ceiling to where you're always going to be in the minds of people. You've broken past. To me, Saw is the definition of an iconic franchise, where it captured it had its hands around the throat of culture for a long period of time, and even when it stopped, it didn't stop. You know, it's everything about an iconic movie has everything: good music, you know, memorable scenes, memorable dialogue, everything. I think Jigsaw is undeniably an icon. Undeniably an icon. That's how I feel.
You'll never think of Halloween, the holiday, the same again. Never. You'll hear that laugh. You know, that you'll think of Hello Zep. Like, it's just, yeah, icon.
There we go. All right. Well, next up we have Herbert West from Reanimator.
You take this one first. You're a bigger fan of this movie than I am, so I want to know where you're sitting with it.
So there's a couple ways to look at it. You know, it's certainly not an iconic character, for sure. I think this is a movie that if you are quote unquote a horror fan, you've at least seen it. It's like the movie you watch after you get into horror and you've watched all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, all the Friday the 13th, all the Halloweens, and you want to get into 80s horror because you just love all the stuff you saw. And I'm an example of this. After I really got into horror, Reanimator was a movie I kept hearing about, kept seeing about, and I went right to it. It was like that next step intermediate horror movie. That's how I look at Reanimator. So it's like, I don't know if you would call it the gateway horror movie to becoming a horror fanatic, but it's one of them, I feel like, in a sense. So for me, I think Reanimator is about the same level, maybe a little bit under Puppet Master, but certainly above Harry Warden. I think way more people would recognize the poster for Reanimator. I think it's closer to cult than subculture.
Yeah, I'll go cult as well. And I think, like you said, it's a perfect gateway movie. Yeah, I would personally watch Reanimator over My Bloody Valentine. And I would obviously, like you said, recognize the material from that over My Bloody Valentine. So yeah, no argument. Cult.
Here we go. We are in agreement so far on a lot of this stuff. Some of it's probably hard to argue, though, but we'll get there. We'll get there. We got some interesting ones for sure. Next up, we've got Tony Todd from Candyman.
This is hard. This is hard because in my heart of hearts, Tony Todd as Daniel Robitaille is an icon just because of how good that first movie is.
Yeah.
Having said that, in pop culture, only the first movie and the reboot did anything to get people talking. I mean, anything at all. But I think that first, I'm going to be objective and I'm going to say semi-icon. Personally. Like, I mean, personally, I'd say icon. But if I'm being objective, I would say semi-icon. There's only 4 movies, only 2 of them that most people even know about. So I think I have to be objective and say semi-icon.
I hear you. It's tough. I don't know where to go because my definition of what I think a horror icon is, it's something that has multiple films that grasps culture and dictates the genre. And I don't think that's what the Candyman franchise did, but dude, it's the damnedest thing. If you say Candyman, if you say it, people know it. And they know what they know.
Yeah.
Don't say it in the mirror. I think if there is an exception for an icon, it would be Candyman. But
you're going to make me happy if you vote icon because I said personally I'd put it in icon. So if
I'm fleshing it out in my head because I mean, think about I'm thinking about this. If you say Candyman to people, I guarantee you, if I went up to work and I talked to everybody, I just said, do you know who Candyman is? They at least have heard of it if they haven't seen the movie. And they know it's a big, scary black guy with a hook. It's somehow one of those movies that it's everlasting.
Put it in icon. Fuck it. We don't even need to give this word salad. We both want to put him there. Let's do it. We know we want to. Even if it's just for the be my victim. Like, oh, fuck. So good, man. So good. Let me tell you something too, really quick, Christian, an anecdote about this. My mom told me in the 90s, after seeing that movie, every woman wanted to fuck him. Like, everyone. Like, my mom was like, it was just something about his voice, the way he carried himself. He was terrifying in that movie, but also like seductive. Like, it's just like, and like, he had such a lasting impact. I just, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Let us know in the comments, guys. Did your moms or dads want to fuck Tony Todd?
So for the listeners that are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, in the icon column, we have Tony Todd's Candyman, Jigsaw, and Alien. In the semi-icon, we have Predator and Dr. Loomis. In the cult status, which is middle, we have Blade representing the Puppet Master series and Herbert West from Reanimator. And in subculture, basically, a genre fan of a certain type, we have Harry Warden from My Bloody Valentine. And nobody has been in back of the line yet. So moving on, this should be interesting. We have Jack Torrance from The Shining. One of the greatest horror films ever made.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the sequel's better. I know I'm in the vast minority. Having said that, dude, it's Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance. I mean, like
Yeah.
seriously,
Johnny,
it's an icon. We don't even have to argue that. I don't think, right?
I mean, if you told me semi-icon, I would listen to an argument for it because
I couldn't do that. I'd be lying.
Because, well, I mean, if fair enough, but I think there is an argument. If you say Jack Nicholson, you might get a wide answer for what people will say, the Joker, or they may say, or maybe they'll say The Shining. Hell, maybe they'll say, what's that movie where he has like OCD or some shit where he can't like walk on cracks on the sidewalk?
Oh fuck, I can't remember, but I know what you're talking about.
Something's got to give.
I think about anger management too with Adam Sandler.
Anger management. I'm so pretty, so pretty.
But everybody knows Here's Johnny.
Yeah.
It's been referenced to death throughout pop culture. That alone, Jack Torrance is an icon.
Amen. Amen. If you would have said semi, though, I would have heard you out.
Yeah, but I'm trying to be objective tonight. I really am.
Me too. Me too. Next up, we have Sam from Trick or Treat.
All right, Christian. When this movie came out, it was cold. It was absolutely cold.
But when this movie came out, it didn't come out, really.
Yeah. But when it started to gain traction, when it got its home video release, it was cult. It was a cult hit. Now, go into any Halloween store, you're going to see Sam all over the place. All over the place. He is synonymous with the holiday. Having said that, he's not an icon. He's got one movie. One movie. Now,
are they actually making a sequel too? By the way, is it actually happening? No.
Michael Dougherty said yes.
And Winona Ryder's in it, or is I'm imagining
that? That was actually reported before the strikes. So
kiss that goodbye for a few years.
we don't know. But me personally, I would say after seeing Sam's lasting impact and how synonymous he's come with the holiday itself, I have to say semi-icon. You can't say cult anymore. You can't. Everybody knows who this motherfucker is. Everyone. Little kids going into Spirit Halloween. They see Sam everywhere. He's not an icon yet. But I think he's a semi-icon. I really do.
Do you almost wonder, too, if Spirit Halloween gave him an even bigger fan base for people that probably don't even know him as a movie character? It's just this cute little thing that's just, you see it and you're attracted to it.
Yeah,
but here's way, obviously, but like you're attracted to that because there's something about Sam that's so lovable. And I think people might go to Spirit. You know, I've got those statues right there. I was looking at them and I'm thinking to myself, it's like, dude, you can't go to Spirit and not find Sam stuff. It's like, it's everywhere. You know, and they put the little VHS thing out too.
I mean, for that reason alone, man. I mean, like, we're not talking about Trick or Treat. Is Trick or Treat iconic? No, we're asking is Sam. Where does Sam go? He's a semi-icon. Really is. And 10 years from now, especially if they make a sequel and it's a big hit, he could be an icon. Dead ass.
And I hope it goes to theaters too. That
way it absolutely would. Legendary, after how popular he's become, there's no way they wouldn't. No way. Like, yeah, it would go to theaters.
How dumb does Warner Brothers have to be?
Pretty fucking dumb.
I mean, I get it on paper. It's like anthology movie. Didn't they stop doing those like in the 90s? Like, I can understand it a little bit, but oh man, it's so. And I think the first time I saw Trick or Treat was like in 2009 or something, and I got the DVD at like, Fred's or a Big Lots.
I got it at Walmart.
Yeah,
I remember seeing the trailer when I went and saw Rob Zombie's Halloween in theaters.
Oh yeah, you told me we did an episode on Trick or Treat. By the way, go check that out in the archives, guys.
Yeah, where my ex-wife rudely interrupted us because she wanted to go somewhere. So that was great.
I think I edited that out.
Yeah, you probably did. But yeah, dude, it's yeah, he's a semi-icon. I'm glad you put him there without even any argument.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people are going to agree with that. Next up, we have Freddy Krueger.
You know, Christian, I think
Shut up.
No, you're fucking icon. Like, there's no. Do we even have to have a conversation?
No, but go ahead. I want to hear what you want to say.
Icon. I would, dude. You've made the argument to me that Jason is the biggest of the big three in pop culture.
I kind of feel that way.
I know, but I would disagree. I think that his movies were the most accessible to teenagers, to anyone in the 80s. They were easily the most accessible. You want boobs, you want blood, go see Friday the 13th. Everybody can enjoy it. Nightmare on Elm Street is different. Halloween is different. I think that's why I like both those franchises more than Friday. I think they offer more than just the surface level. And for that reason, I would argue, God, it's
here's why I come to that conclusion. I feel, just being in the horror community and world, I feel it's 2-1 for people that prefer Friday the 13th as a franchise over Nightmare on Elm Street. I feel that way. Maybe I mean, I'm a part of the, I know I have like Deandra and the Final Girl. She made the Fred Heads documentary. Like, I know there's the Elm Street culture, and I've kind of worked my way into that, and I've met people and stuff like that. But I feel like it's 2-1 the people that prefer Friday the 13th. They'll say, oh, Friday the 13th is my favorite franchise. I feel like I hear that more than anything. Maybe not Halloween, maybe not. But over Elm Street, I feel that way. I could be wrong. But I just go off based of what I experience. Like, I don't know that many people that say, in my personal life, I don't know that many people that say, oh, Elm Street is my favorite far over Friday the 13th and Halloween.
Yeah, you're not wrong. That is, but I think that goes back to what I said. It's a lot more accessible. But if you wanted to ask me, as somebody that doesn't have a dog in that fight, because Halloween is obviously my favorite, I would say A Nightmare on Elm Street's more iconic. What's more iconic, the or the dun, 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 dun? Oh, it's absolutely Nightmare. Like, it's so, and there's so much character to Freddy. There's not a lot of character to Jason.
Oh, yeah. I get what you're saying, and I agree. To me, Freddy's the greatest horror character ever invented. I agree with you on that for sure. If that's what you're driving at,
yeah.
That's what you're saying.
No, yeah. I mean, yeah, he is above Michael, above Jason, absolutely. Like, that's probably the greatest ever. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we obviously don't disagree on icon. Like, that is a no-brainer. But yeah, that's where I sit with it.
All right. Next up, we've got the Hell Priest, aka Pinhead from Hellraiser.
Christian in my heart.
This is what you got to ask yourself.
I know what I have to ask myself.
Do the number of mediocre straight-to-video entries affect the status of the character?
And that's why I corrected myself near the beginning of this episode. And I said there's going to be a series later that we're going to get to, because we're asking about the character. We're not asking about the franchise as a whole and the quality of the movies. We're asking how iconic is said character. And in my heart of hearts, Pinhead is far more interesting than Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, period, point blank. After Freddy Krueger, I think Pinhead is the second best created. Whether it's Doug Bradley's performance, the lines, the memorable moments, it just, yes, Pinhead is phenomenal. But when I look in the zeitgeist, it ain't talked about like the others. It's just not. As much as I love that character and I love that franchise, warts and all, it's just not on the same level. I wish it were. It's not. But I think those first 4 movies in particular are enough to put Pinhead in semi-icon. I'd love to put him in icon, because I think aside from Freddy Krueger, there is no greater horror character, more memorable to me. But I think in the zeitgeist, he's a semi-icon. Most people know who he is.
What I was going to say, is that not an icon to you? If you show a picture to 100 people, do you know who that is? How many people you would say Oh my, I remember that. I remember him. That's Pinhead. That's Hellraiser. How many people do you think would know who he is?
A lot. And my mom, when she was here a couple weeks ago and I was watching one of the Hellraiser movies, she heard a line. She wasn't even in the family room, but she heard one of the lines that Doug gave. And she was like, "Are you watching those Pinhead movies?" That's what she said. She didn't say Hellraiser.
Right.
So, I mean,
I think he's an icon.
Fuck it. Do it, man. You don't have to convince me. I said in my heart, he's an icon. He's absolutely an icon in my heart. I don't give a shit what anybody says. And so many people
there's more than just the movies. It's about how they penetrate culture.
Yes. And I think, would you agree with me that after Freddy Krueger, Doug Bradley's Pinhead is probably the next most memorable?
Well, I mean, I think everybody has the story of, I'll never forget walking down the VHS aisle and looking at the cover of Hellraiser, and it stopped me in my tracks. I think everybody has that story.
Yeah.
How could you not? I think everybody has that story.
And he's just so insanely quotable. There's icon. Fuck it. Piss the normies off. Let's do it.
I mean, that's how I feel. It's not about how many of the movies you like or dislike. That's not what it's about. Next up, we've got Hannibal Lecter.
Icon. I mean,
that easy for you, huh?
Silence of the Lambs alone. Like, yes. Yeah. We can go back to Manhunter. We can talk about Red Dragon. We can talk about Hannibal Rising, Hannibal, the TV show.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of Hannibal? Not the TV show, the 2000 film.
I am. It's very different than Silence of the Lambs, whereas Silence of the Lambs was more like a psychological. It is a horror film, but it is a lot more psychological and like cat and mouse thriller aspects. And Hannibal is a more straight up, almost slasher movie. In comparison,
but is he not as scary outside of the glass?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. When he, I mean, you're right. I'm more scared of him when he's in the cell.
That's what, yeah.
It's just like, because you're like, what is this motherfucker gonna do? Like,
I get goosebumps every time she walks up and you see him stand. When you see him standing there, proper up like that, dude, I fucking lose my shit. I can't believe that they were gonna use somebody else before him. The director wasn't the first guy picked, Jonathan Demme. He was like the third choice. Lecter, I think Hopkins was like they were going to use somebody. I think Nicholson was actually up for the running. They wanted him, but he was too busy. They wanted somebody else. I cannot remember who it was, but somebody else was going to do it. And then something happened. He backed out. So Hopkins was like the third guy that they chose. And it's just amazing how fate works.
I mean, icon, right? There's no argument. Silence of the Lambs is one of the greatest horror films of all time. And he's the most memorable thing in it. So, yeah.
Icon. Dude, when he's like attacking those cops when they moved him into like that cell at that big, like, where was he at, in some kind of like big civic
and he's at the top, and he's in the
How did he get that one cop hung up like that?
I don't know. He took that face off too, and fucking
my God. He slowed his heart rate down to make it seem like he was dying. Like, it's fucking terrifying. Oh man. Okay.
Next one.
Next up, we have Tim Curry's Pennywise the Clown.
It's no secret to you guys that listen or watch the podcast that I prefer It and It Chapter 2 to the miniseries, although I love the first half of the miniseries. But I grew up on that miniseries. It scared the shit out of me as a child. And no matter how much I think the new films overall in quality are better, there is absolutely, undeniably no question that Tim Curry as Pennywise the Clown is an icon. Like, icon. Because you go back, and even Christian, as somebody that does like the miniseries as well, when you go back, you notice so many of the warts. Like, so many of the, oh, that's kind of corny. Oh, that kind of, But you're just waiting for him to show up again. He grabs your attention every single time. That is the most memorable fucking clown in the history of cinema. Icon.
Agreed.
I mean, I just don't even know how you could argue that he's not.
Next up, we have Warwick Davis's Leprechaun.
I'm gonna let you take this one because I know where I want to go with this one, but I want to hear you state your case.
It's an interesting question. I don't know where I would go. Here's the thing. If you ask the average person, do you know who Leprechaun is? They would say yes, but they would chuckle. So it's either semi-icon or cult. He's certainly more known than Blade or Reanimator.
But what's the definition of iconic?
Well, that's the thing. I know.
Are you?
I know. Yeah. I did Leprechaun penetrate the culture? I don't know about that.
No, I think he's a semi-icon. I really do. The character, I think, is a semi-icon. Everybody knows that little green fucker. Everybody.
Yeah, that's where I would go to.
You can say the movies suck, but you cannot say that if you said the Leprechaun, people wouldn't know. Like that little bastard terrified a generation of kids in the 90s. My brother being one of them. He busted his head open as a child because we had an unfinished basement and it had the wooden stairs where there were openings at every stair. And he was worried that the Leprechaun was going to grab his ankle one night when he was going up the stairs. So he turned the lights off and did the thing where you turn the lights off and you run up the stairs because you're scared. He did that and tripped because the lights were off, fell backwards and busted his head open. Why? Because he was scared the Leprechaun was going to get him.
Damn.
That's a true story.
Oh,
my mom used to walk around the house going, "I'm the Leprechaun." Like, just like, yeah, he's a semi-icon for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Next up, we have the tall man, Angus Scrimm.
All right, Christian, you tell the people where you put him and why.
It's very difficult to decide definitively. I look at the tall man as iconic as the rest of them. Is he as well known? I don't think so. I think Phantasm is an upper echelon horror film, but you go to Walgreens, you go to Spirit Halloween, you don't see merchandise for it. But I have so much respect for the character of the tall man. If you see the movies and you see his presence on screen, it's undeniable. Out of sheer respect for Angus, my gut wants me to go. Part of me wants to go to cult, but there's another part of me that wants to put him in semi-icon. And I don't know where to go.
Maybe I can break the ice here. I think if you're a horror fan,
Ravager sucks, by the way.
It does.
Brandon.
Suck. Sorry, Brandon. It's terrible. I think if you're a horror fan, you're familiar with Angus Scrimm. You're obviously familiar with the tall man. Even if you only know boy, like I don't even know if that's my favorite line in that movie. I think my favorite line is, "You think when you die, you go to heaven.
Heaven, you come to us."
Yeah. Oh, so great.
That was 2, by the way. Which is my favorite one.
2 is the best one. Yes. Yeah. Look, but a normie on the street, like you said, do you see the merchandise at Spirit or Walmart? Do you even really see the movies out in those places? No. But
didn't you get the Phantasm movies on Blu-ray? I mean, I've got like
Walmart. Yes, I did for $30, all 5 of them in a Blu-ray set.
I've got the ridiculous $199.
Don't think I didn't see that online, people reselling it, and I was like, I don't know if I can pay that much. But I would say cult. I would. I really would. Like you said, for Angus, you kind of want to go semi-icon. But if you look at it,
screen presence is incredible.
Yes, but you look at it as a whole. Iconic, like how many people in everyday life know him? Not enough. I'd say cult. I really would. When I did my Phantasm like review series on my channel, dude, they didn't get hardly any views. I remember getting comments of people like, I love this series. Like, I'm so glad you're talking about it. But like normies don't care. And you have to take that into consideration when you're talking about iconic status. You have to.
That's true. Cool. Okay.
It's a shame. More of you guys should watch those movies, but you know, just not Ravager. Sucks.
Next up, we have Damien from The Omen.
Yeah, this one's easy for me. Cult. I think in the 70s, it scared people for sure. Like my mom, like, and it made people terrified of people named Damien. But I think that's worn off now. I mean, I don't think most people give two shits about The Omen. I really don't. You just don't hear it talked about. You haven't seen a movie in almost 20 years. Like, I think it's cult, man. I really do.
I mean, are you a fan of the first Omen?
I like the second one too.
Dude, I know you'll probably get really pissed off at me for saying this. I like The Omen more than The Exorcist.
No, I get that. I completely get that. I think I think the first Omen, that scared the shit out of me as a kid. And I know a lot of people actually like the remake. I did not at all.
No, I didn't like. I really don't like any of them. Two's good, but I like Sam Neill, but to me, just the first one was it.
Yeah, and
perfect movie.
I think the most iconic thing in The Omen is it's all for you.
Oh, like, you know what fucks me up in The Omen, dude? It's when the glass sheet flies out and kills your boy. I forget his name. The guy who's gonna play Freddy. He's in every fucking movie. He's in the Titanic. He's in everything.
Kevin Bacon?
No. David Warner.
Oh yeah. Oh,
David Warner.
God, yes.
When he gets his head cut off, holy shit. And did you see the Cursed Films episode on The Omen? I think I told you about that series on Shudder.
I started watching Cursed Films. I watched Poltergeist.
I
did not see the Omen one though.
Dude, the Omen one's incredible. And that's a Richard Donner film. And Richard Donner is just he's one of those directors that literally could do anything, could direct anything. Lethal Weapon, The Omen, The Goonies, Assassins with Stallone and Antonio Banderas. He could direct anything. I love The Omen. I think it is one of the greatest horror films ever. But the character of Damien is certainly cult. I would agree, which is a shame. I think the word The Omen is iconic.
Yes, but Damien
yeah. Okay, next up we have Ghostface, which is so interesting because of the way that license works. Like it's weird that you don't see Scream merchandise, you see Ghostface merchandise. And It's in the same font as the Scream movie. It's kind of annoying.
It's because of Fun World, man.
They did the right thing. They're geniuses, you know. They got the best deal of all. They had their cheap ass Halloween mask being a great movie, and then they
became multi-millionaires off of it. It's iconic. Ghostface is iconic.
But here's the thing you got to ask yourself. I'm not trying to just change your mind on anything. Is every Ghostface iconic? Every person that was the character.
No, but we're asking is Ghostface iconic? And Ghostface is whoever is donning the mask and robe. It's not specific. It is just whoever is in that mask and robe, that character, that hooded character with that mask is iconic, 100%. And there might be people from an older generation that don't agree, but guys, what you're seeing right now with Scream is what they saw in the 80s with Freddy and Jason, and what you saw in the, you saw at points with Michael too. Like this is it right now. This is it.
Well, I would actually argue the opposite. I would probably feel that the older people would be like, oh, the younger kids really don't even understand how much it penetrated the world. Because I remember just being a little kid, dude, in the late 90s when Halloween came, and New Orleans, Halloween was massive. I mean, you couldn't, the police had to block off my subdivision. So many people would come in, the police had to block it off. There was safety concerns. And so many people were Scream. I called it Scream as a kid. I didn't know the term.
Yeah, we all did. Yeah.
You know, it was, I think it was hysteria back then. It's not hysteria now, but it was back then. But even more so than that, after Scream went away in 2000, the masks were still in stores every single year. People still dressed up as Ghostface. It never went away. It's just like Saw to me. Even when it goes away and the movies stop, it still stays in the culture of the world. You go to Walgreens, you'll get a Ghostface mask. You go to Spirit, you always get Ghostface stuff. It never goes away. Even when the movies aren't happening, it's still a part of pop culture. That is, to me, Ghostface is the absolute definition of a horror icon. Even though I don't claim to be it's not true. I'm starting to like. I think 4 is the only one I really, really don't like. I think you have to look at Ghostface as just as iconic. And people gave me shit. And I will say this, you know, I always say, please, people, give Kevin Williamson credit. Please, for God's sakes, he wrote it. But Wes is the reason that mask is in that movie. So,
yeah, let's call a spade a spade. I mean, I love Sidney Prescott and I love Neve Campbell. But if you want to attribute the success of Scream to its star power, you learned with the last movie, that shit don't matter. What matters is that mask. It's
where were all the people that were supposed to be upset boycotting that movie, by the way?
Yeah, exactly.
Did they just not admit? Did they not admit they went to?
Oh, they went and saw it. Yeah, they went and saw it.
Justice for Neve Campbell. You know, justice for Neve. You know, now she can only have a 5-story house instead of a 6. Oh, for God's sakes, Neve is fine. Next up, we have the Crypt Keeper. This is an interesting one.
It is.
I have an answer.
You go.
The Crypt Keeper is a fucking horror icon. The Crypt Keeper is merchandise city. The Crypt Keeper is ruled pop culture. Beers were using the Crypt Keeper. Budweiser was sponsored by the Crypt Keeper. When the show stopped, they still sold shirts, toys. There was cartoons. If you have a cartoon, you are an icon. There was a cartoon for the Crypt Keeper. The Crypt Keeper is an all-time icon.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on TV all the time, late at night, man. Tales from the Crypt, and like it. Yeah,
the Crypt Keeper was the cartoon. I think the name of the cartoon as well.
Yeah, I watched that too. Yeah, I won't argue with you. Yeah,
it's like, dude, that is the Crypt Keeper is a fucking horror icon.
Honestly, I'm just wondering if we're gonna have anybody hit the back of the line.
Well, again, I mean, like, I'd have to really start digging. And the thing is, like, I would have to purposely look for back of the lines, which is what made it tough.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Cropsy from The Burning.
I think this is going to be the second one that I'm going to put into subculture. Like I said, I think your average avid slasher fan, avid horror fan knows, but your average horror fan as a whole probably doesn't.
I would agree. But let me ask you this. Do you think more people, this is probably really difficult to answer, but do you think more people know Harry Warden or Cropsy? Or do you think they just don't know?
I think it's about the same. Honestly, I really do. How many people could you go into? Think about it this way. Where would you see a lot of normies, horror fans, average horror fans? If you went into a Spirit Halloween, you know, the girls and guys with the tattoos and the gauged earrings and their horror t-shirts. And you're like, yo, what do you guys think about Cropsy? Like, the fuck? Most of them would have no idea. Or you said, what do you think about Harry Warden? Who? So, yeah, I think they're kind of like the same tier, which I think they belong in the same tier.
Fair enough.
No disrespect, but
I almost thought maybe Cropsy could have gone in back of the line.
I was thinking about it too, man. I really was.
Next up, we've got Norman Bates from Psycho.
Back of the line. It's a fucking icon, bro. Come on.
All right.
Some people revere it as the greatest horror film of all time. I would disagree, but yeah, he's an icon.
Next up, we have Pennywise the Clown from the adaptation of the novel, the movies, if you will, played by Bill Skarsgård.
Okay.
I have an interesting opinion on this.
As the bigger fan of these movies, between the two of us, I can tell you that anytime you make 2 R-rated horror movies that make $1.2 billion combined in 2 movies and be the highest grossing R-rated horror film of all time, Chapter 1, you've got a lot to stand on. You remember in 2017 how it took the world by storm. Like, everyone and their fucking dog went and saw that movie. Everyone. Yeah. But I do not think Bill Skarsgård is as iconic as Tim Curry. So the popularity factors into it. But I'm going to say semi-icon.
I can't believe I'm arguing with you on this. I think
you're going to say icon?
Dude, that Pennywise is equally as merchandise today. Equally.
You can...
And it hasn't gone away.
You can put it there because I love those movies. And in my heart of hearts, I wouldn't argue with you.
And in some cases, it's actually replaced the original in terms of merchandises in stores. Replaced it.
Okay, I'll let you have it. I do think we're going to get some arguments in the comments about it. I do, because I do think that Tim Curry is more iconic. So it almost feels like blasphemy to put him in the same tier. But you're right. Merchandising, marketability, how many people recognize it, how popular were the movies.
I'd say it's the same exact amount, if not more, for the remake.
Yeah, put it in there. Fuck it. Icon. You made it.
Mind you, I like the original better.
You do.
But
I know.
I think, dude, when those movies came out, literally, and the movies are done, but like it hasn't gone away, and they consistently sell merchandise. And if it doesn't replace the original merchandise, it sells the same amount. It's a part of culture now. That Pennywise is a part of pop culture.
Yeah. You won't get an argument from me. I see the picture for the next one. This one's interesting. I want you to take this one.
What's the name of this guy again?
Lipstick Face Demon.
Is that really the name of him?
Yep.
Lipstick Face Demon?
Mm-hmm.
So, for those just listening, what we're talking about is the Darth Maul character from Insidious.
Meth Maul. It's his cousin.
Yeah.
I mean, I know where I would go.
How many Insidious movies was he in?
He's in the first one. He's in the 5th one. And he gets a cameo in the 3rd one. But barely. Or maybe it's the 4th one he gets cameo in. No, it's the 3rd one. I can't remember. I
don't think he's earned being an icon or a semi-icon yet, personally. I think when you think of Insidious, you think of the people over him. I think you think of Lin Shaye.
One of the greatest jump scares of all time.
I think you think of... I'm not taking that away, but I think if you ask the average person about Insidious, I think what they would probably bring up is Patrick or the wife or Lin Shaye above him. I think there's so much going on in those movies in terms of scary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think I think he's cult.
Let me tell you something.
I think the movies are so pop culture, but I don't think you don't see him merchandise. You don't see him on the store shelves. You don't see. I think he's cult.
He is overrated because of one of the greatest jump scares of all time. Everything else he does in that first movie, meh. In the 5th movie, might as well have not even been there. Dead ass. Cult. I agree. You won't get any argument from me. The movies are more popular than he is.
Let me keep score for the people listening. Right now in the icons bracket, we have Alien, Jigsaw, Candyman, The Shining's Jack Torrance, Freddy Krueger, Pinhead, Hannibal Lecter, Tim Curry's Pennywise, Ghostface, the Crypt Keeper, Norman Bates, and Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise. And semi-icon, we have Predator, Donald Pleasance's Dr. Loomis. We have Sam from Trick or Treat and Warwick Davis's Leprechaun. In the cult bracket, we have Blade representing Puppet Master, Herbert West with Reanimator, the Tall Man from Phantasm, Damien from The Omen, the Lipstick Demon from Insidious. And in subculture, we have Harry Warden and Cropsy from the two 80s one-off slasher films. Next up, we have one Jason Voorhees.
And this is where we set the record straight again. It's an icon. Absolute icon. Stop it. Just stop it.
What are you referring to?
You already know. I mean, like, again, guys, cannot preface enough by saying, like, everybody has their list. But Cody, you got under my skin because I'm not even a big Jason fan. And I was like, oh, come on.
What did Cody say?
I think he put him a tier below the top tier. So, like, you could make it, you could make that argument. And he did say, he was like, you know, I based this off nostalgia, like my personal feelings on the franchise. So, yeah, if you're leaning more subjective, totally fine. But objectively, he's an icon.
Yeah. Which is how I think I'm tackling this a lot more too. Obviously, I'm talking about merchandise and Walgreens. I brought up Walgreens more times than not.
I already said this earlier, but we like Cody. We're friends of Cody's, okay?
Oh, yeah, he inspired us doing this.
Yes.
This is all to give justice for Jason.
Yeah, this was hashtag justice for Jason.
Well, there's that, guys. Moving on, we have Art the Clown.
We're going to piss some people off with this one, Christian. I know we are. Colt. He's Colt.
Really?
He just is. He just is. I mean, Christian, Terrifier 2 was a big success for what it was, but it still made $15 million. Like, Insidious made that in its opening weekend. More than that. Double that. Like,
but what about the cross multiply and divide, though? You know,
by budget, yes. There are other factors, absolutely. But when I look at it, what have we been talking about? A bunch. Marketability, recognizability. You're not seeing that. This was the first year at Spirit where I saw anything Terrifier related.
What did you see? I didn't see anything.
There was a Terrifier t-shirt on their shirt wall. And there were socks. Cool. I believe that, yeah, socks.
Oh, you're an icon if you got socks, dude.
Yeah. There was, I can't remember. There was another thing, but there wasn't any of these like plush collectible. There wasn't any of the ceramic collectibles. It's not there yet. Do I think Art can and will get there? 100%. But he's not there yet. Terrifier and Terrifier 2 are the definition of cult horror films. It's cult.
All right. I guess I can concede. I
know you wanted to put him in semi. I know you did.
Well, I think he's really close. If he's not there, he's really close because I'll never forget. I've listened to Howard Stern since I was a kid. And for him to say the biggest, maybe not anymore, but Howard's an icon. You know, everybody knows who Howard Stern is. He's the biggest radio DJ of all time. For him to stop the show to talk about this movie and say, this Terrifier 2 movie is making people gag in the theaters. Like, what is this? And he starts talking about the clown, everything. You're arriving, I feel. Like, he was talked about on every news station, on Howard Stern. He broke. It was insane. I mean, this was just a year ago. We were experiencing this. Like, the penetration of this movie coming out was fucking insane. It was on every news station was talking about it. That's why I'm close to wanting to say semi-icon.
One more movie, a little bit more merchandising, a little bit more recognizability. I'll agree with you. Terrifier 3, I think, is going to do 5 times what Terrifier 2 did at the box office. It's going to be a hit. And I think that is when you're really going to see Art break through. But I think still by definition, it is cult. And I know someone in the comments right now is like, you dumb motherfucker. Like, but.
All right. Next up, we have the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Was it the same creeper in 4? I don't think so. And who are we talking? We talking about the creeper or Victor Salva? Which creeper? Look, for me, I think with just how memorable that first movie is, and everybody knows that first movie, I think he's a semi-icon. But I don't think he's an icon because, one, the bad publicity with everything there really dragged this down from ever being super marketable. You don't see a lot of Jeepers Creepers merch. You just don't. I was surprised to find this cup today. But I do think that first movie was so impactful and people love and revere that movie so much that I do think he belongs in semi-icon. I do.
Yeah. I think if you're a cult, if you have a cult film and you go away for X amount of years and you release a movie for one night and it's still really successful, and then you go away again and you have all this drama behind the scenes, and then you put out another movie again for 2 nights at a movie theater and you're still wildly successful, I think you've earned that credit to be a semi-icon. And I think had there had been no, if anybody else, if somebody with a clean record, put it to you this way, had created this character, and
it would have never gone away.
It probably would have lasted a little bit longer, and I think he would have penetrated the pop culture even more.
We'd have 10 movies by now. Yeah,
I'd go semi-icon.
Mm-hmm.
Jeepers Creepers 2 has like one of the greatest endings of a horror movie I've ever seen, and there was it never followed up on it. It's a tragedy.
And, dude, it's great too because like people a lot of times will try, like they'll really talk about how our tastes can be different, but like when we're being objective, we're agreeing on everything.
Yeah.
We can be objective, guys. We can.
Michael Myers is an icon, obviously. Unless if there's anything you want to add, feel free. But
no, I mean,
the people at home, Michael Myers is an icon.
He's definitely an icon. No, nothing to add. I will still always maintain that I think Michael and Freddy are bigger than Jason, but that's my opinion. I know.
I definitely think you could argue that it's. I mean, Freddy is so iconic that despite the fact that there's only been one movie in the last
19 years.
Yeah. Technically. 19 years, because Freddy versus Jason was literally 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And you had one remake. The fact that even though the merchandise it's restocks every year and it sucks. And I know why, obviously, I think because of all the legal stuff, it's probably hard to make new merchandise for Elm Street right now. So it just seems like it's restock stuff all year. And like, I will say if and when a new movie does finally happen, I'm going to be overjoyed because we're going to get merchandise and new merchandise and it's going to be awesome. But the fact that he does not fucking go away, you can never make another Elm Street film and every year there's going to be merchandise for it. That's something to be said. That's pretty cool. So, all right, next up we have Chucky from Child's Play.
Icon. Yeah.
Chucky's an icon.
I don't think he's as iconic as the big three, but he's still an icon.
Yeah. Yeah, again, just everybody knows who Chucky is for sure.
Yep.
All right, guys. Next up on the list, we have Pazuzu from The Exorcist, that infamous image.
Are we just going off of that image or everything?
That image. Which was not even really supposed to be in the movie, but he did it as like almost a gag. And people picked up on it. There's records of people fainting in the theater when that popped up on screen.
All right, then you tell me. You tell me what you think. Because listeners, if you're new to the podcast, Christian's favorite Exorcist film is Exorcist 3. So I don't think there's a lot of bias here. I think the greatest horror film of all time is The Exorcist, though it's not my favorite.
I don't know. I love this image for sure. And the fact that it's literally a flash on screen and it made people faint and run out of the theater. That's incredible. I'd give him semi-icon. Like if people know what that is.
I was gonna say semi, but I didn't want to seem disrespectful. But I'll because it's not the most memorable thing from The Exorcist. It's just not.
But the fact that it's in the conversation, it's literally 0.03 seconds.
Yes, but I'd say semi. I'd say semi.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
You ready to piss people off, Christian?
Yeah, because up next we've got Sydney actually reminded me to put this on the list. Captain Spaulding representing the House with Thousand and Firefly and Devil's Rejects films.
Though when the movies came out, they weren't huge hits. They were modest hits. Guess what Rob Zombie's never been able to escape from? The Firefly family. Guess what people always ask him about? The Firefly family. Guess who's the most recognizable? Captain Spaulding. Guess what? He comes out damn near 20 years after Devil's Rejects, throws together a more low-budget sequel, and it goes in theaters for 2-3 nights, is wildly successful, one of Fathom Events' most successful releases. And what does everybody talk about? There wasn't enough Captain Spaulding because, unfortunately, Sid Haig passed away. So if you want to talk Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses, Three from Hell as a whole, that's different. You want to talk about Captain Spaulding? That motherfucker's an icon.
An icon, yeah, without question. I agree.
So for all you guys that shit on Rob Zombie, that
for
man,
all you jackasses out there,
he made an icon. He made a horror icon. Chew on that. Quit ringing that damn bell. Fuck yeah, dude.
Next up, we have The Strangers. This is interesting because you had this movie, this one-off movie at the time that came out in 2008.
Made $100 million.
Was super successful, scared the hell out of people. I'll never forget people running out of the theater. And as quickly as it arrived, it went away. But it didn't really go away.
Pray at Night came out. Only made like 20 million.
Pray at Night came out. And you got to put that into... But here's the thing about that. I was a fan of The Strangers since the first time I saw it. Big fan. But when Pray at Night came out, I don't even remember hearing about it coming out.
The marketing was terrible, and it took 10 years. 10 fucking years. Now, having said that, though, Christian, what did you say earlier? When you can go away for a decade and make a new movie and not go away, you're an icon. They went away, and then the second movie came out, and it didn't really make any money. So I love the second movie. I prefer it because it's just more of a straight-up old-school slasher movie.
You like it over the first one?
Yes.
Oh,
it's so much more fun. It's so
fun. But how scary is that first movie?
It is. But I'm telling you, also, there's a Christina Hendricks bias. The mom in Pray at Night, she is oh my God, the things I do. So, look, I
think they're semi-iconic.
I was teetering on Cult.
I could see that too because
they came and went, Christian. The first movie was a big hit, but what was popular around that time? That's when home invasion movies were really popular. It just worked. It came at the right time, but as quick as it came, it went. If you would have asked me in 2010, I would have said semi-icon. But you're asking me now, 15 years later, Cult.
And the movies didn't really penetrate the merchandise world that much either.
And it's not even the best home invasion movie from that era. Funny Games is the remake. That movie fucking rules.
Yeah, I think Cult's probably right. I think that's probably right.
Taking nothing away from how great those two movies are. But when you're talking about longevity, and we'll see how this third one does. I was talking to somebody 2 days ago that told me that the plan is for this new trilogy to go to theaters, not streaming. So we'll see how popular the Strangers are when they come back. But I'm saying cult for right now.
Next up, we have Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Icon. You could say what you want about the quality of films. You can say what you want. We're talking about Leatherface.
Oh, yeah. Next up, we have Annabelle. This is difficult because I got to take my
personal feelings out of it.
Personal feelings out of it.
Yeah, look, man, it's not an icon. Even objectively, it's not an icon, but it's a semi-icon. It is. It's marketable as fuck. The Conjuring universe as a whole is super successful, and it's a big part of that universe. You see the dolls at Spirit Halloween. You see the merchandise. Everybody knows that doll. You could even make an argument for icon, but I don't think Annabelle is going to have the lasting impact 15 years from now.
When did Annabelle show up first? Was it Insidious?
The Conjuring.
Conjuring or Conjuring 2?
The Conjuring. It was the opening scene of The Conjuring where it's the nurses talking about how they got this doll and they got
the doll. That's right. Yep. I couldn't remember. That's crazy, man. That was just a scene in the movie.
Yep, and it took off. I mean, it spread like wildfire. But man, as soon as it came, it went. Like they made a couple movies, they were successful, and that's it. They're not making any more Annabelle movies. Like the longevity is not. It's just not there. It's not an original IP. It's based off of a real doll, and whether you believe these things happened or not, it was a real doll. And there's only so many stories you can tell about that doll. And I think it's a semi-icon. I do, but I don't think it's an icon.
Yeah, I was going to say semi-iconic too. It's certainly way more wildly popular than Darth Maul from Insidious.
Yes.
And last, we have Tarman from Return of the Living Dead.
This is yours. Take it away.
I would call him the most popular zombie probably ever. Return of the Living Dead is borderline as a movie on becoming semi-iconic. It's probably still relatively cult. I'd probably put Tarman in cult. Maybe 5 years ago I would have said subculture, but I think Return of the Living Dead constantly grows in popularity, and I think Tarman is probably breaking out of the film's growth a little bit. So I think I would put Tarman in cult.
I would as well, because I think just at face value, I think Return of the Living Dead is by definition a cult horror film. And I think that Tarman is obviously the most memorable thing from that movie. So
well, that's it.
That's the list. You don't need another list.
If you're watching this right now and you can see us on screen, let me know if you would change anything. And let me run through this so everybody on listening can get a grasp. In subculture, we have Harry Warden and Cropsey. In cult, we've got Puppet Master, Jeffrey Combs from Reanimator, the Tall Man from Phantasm, Damien from The Omen, Darth Maul from Insidious, Terrifier, the Clown, Art the Clown, the Strangers, and Tarman. And semi-iconic, we have the Predator, Dr. Loomis, Sam from Trick or Treat, Leprechaun, the Creeper, Pazuzu, and Annabelle. And icons, we have Leatherface, Captain Spaulding, Chucky, Michael Myers, Jason, remake Pennywise, Norman Bates, the Crypt Keeper, Ghostface, Tim Curry's Pennywise, Hannibal Lecter, Pinhead, Freddy Krueger, Jack Torrance from The Shining, Candyman, Billy the Puppet, a.k.a. Jigsaw, a.k.a. John Kramer, whatever you want to call it, and Alien.
It's interesting to look at this list now that it's done, because you hear people all the time in the horror community, specifically when they talk about iconic movies, iconic characters, they treat that like it is such a holy grail that only few have ever treaded that ground. But I think, honestly, there's a lot more than people ever want to admit. And I think if you just take a second and think of some of these characters, there's no way. I don't think there's a single person we put an icon, except someone might argue Captain Spaulding, and someone might argue Billy the Puppet, Jigsaw, whatever. But I still think the facts are on our side. So I just think that many iconic horror characters, maybe we should reevaluate how we parse this out sometimes, thinking that, oh, only the big three are the icons. There's a lot of icons. You can be more iconic than another, but you can still be an icon.
The only thing I forgot to bring up was Bruce the Shark from Jaws. But I was like, that's a shark.
Yeah, but he's an icon.
He is an icon.
Yes.
So that was fun. I'm interested to see how people feel about this. You know, kind of like when we did the Blumhouse movies. Like, if you want to react to everyone and give your thumb up or thumb down, do it. Or take all the characters we put. Feel free to put your thoughts down below. And we'll make that happen. So there it is, guys. That was fun. That was the horror icons tier list. We haven't done a tier list in a while, so it was nice to do one of those.
And that is definitive.
That's it. I'm gonna make a T-shirt with our tier bracket. Yep. Instead of the definitive icon. I wonder if anybody would get it. And hey, I keep seeing people are buying the Uneeda Horror Podcast shirts on TeePublic. Please send us pictures when you get them. That way I can post it on the Instagram and stuff like that. So please, I see people get it. Don't be strangers. Message Uneeda Horror Instagram page and DM us, and we'll post it on the page and everything. So let us know. We appreciate you getting the shirts.
Absolutely.
So that's it, guys. Think of anything else you want to add before we wrap?
Everything tastes better in the Halloween Resurrection tumbler.
Yes, it does. There you go, guys. We're going to leave it off right there. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for listening to the Uneeda Horror Podcast, and we'll be back before you know it. Take care.